Welcome to today's edition of the Statler Financial Radio Show. Your financial security is our business. Have a question for the team? Call today, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
Welcome, everyone, to the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm your host, Danielle J. Martin, joined by Phillip Statler. He's the founder and president of Statler Financial Services. Hey, before we get started here, we want to remind you of a special event that we do annually here called Shred Day. Phillip, you want to kick us off for us?
Absolutely, Danielle. So Shred Day is coming up. I know many folks have been calling, asking when it is, and it will be coming up October 25th. That's a Saturday. Again, Saturday, October 25th. We're going to move it up just a little bit this year. We're going to do it from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so that will be the time frame. It'll be at the same place it was last year. That's going to be kind of across the street from First Baptist Church on the corner of East Center Avenue and Mango Street. So we'll be right there. You'll be able to see the truck, and we'll be all set up and looking forward to seeing everybody again. Remember, it's just paper and cardboard stuff. We can't do plastics or computer stuff or anything like that. So, but look forward to seeing everybody come out and see us at Shred Day this year.
That's right. And if you want more information on that event, it's very simple. Give Phillip and his team a call, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. Come on out on October 25th, Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Again, don't miss out on the annual event. It's a special one. Getting into our news today, big news out of Washington. The Federal Reserve has cut interest rates from 4.25% to 4%. Now, the first cut in nearly a year. It wasn't the big drop that some were expecting, but Phillip, now a lot of retirees are asking, what could this mean for my money?
Well, that's a great question, Danielle, because, well, several years ago, we had such a low interest rate environment. And that's really, we're not getting back to that level, but it still means the same things, right? When the Fed cuts interest rates, borrowers really appreciate it because their rates get cheaper. Homes, cars, that kind of stuff, credit cards, those interest rates come down. But for savers, it's kind of the same thing. They pay the price because their interest rates come down as well. And so that's not one of the things they like to see. So retirees who depend on CDs, bonds, or savings accounts for income will likely see their returns start to shrink a little bit. And that can feel really unsettling because your ability to pay your bills and enjoy retirement is directly tied to the income that's generated through those interest rates. And so it can be an issue when interest rates continue to fall like they are now, Danielle.
That's right. I know a lot of people have concerns and questions about this. And so with so much going on, Phillip, how can retirees take back some control in times like this?
Well, you can't, there's so many things you can't control, right? We can't control what the Fed does. We can't control what the economy does, but you can control whether or not you have a written retirement income plan in place. That you can take control of, and you can start that process. So a good plan makes sure you have steady, predictable income no matter what Washington or Wall Street are doing and how that may affect your money. That way, you don't have to stress every time there's some big headline about interest rates or the stock market or those types of things. So having that plan in place is a huge benefit.
So what does a retirement income plan look like? We know the number one fear retirees have is running out of money. So when they come in and work with you and your team, what does a retirement income plan look like to make them feel more confident in retirement?
Well, Danielle, it starts with the basics. We look at their Social Security, their pension, how much they have in savings. From there, we can build a strategy to turn those savings into a retirement paycheck. That might include things like investments for growth, because we need a growth bucket. It may mean we need some annuities for guaranteed income, or we may use some dividends to supplement the income. The point's simple. Balance growth with preservation so your money can last as long as you do. And again, Danielle, this is why I spent so much time and energy creating our core retirement design to help people design that retirement they always dreamed of. And one of the legs or part of that core retirement design is an income plan, making sure folks have the income they're going to need month in and month out. To get started, it's a simple 30-minute phone call. You and I making sure you're on the path to the retirement you always dreamed of. To get that scheduled, give me a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
We want to remind you, no cost or obligation to speak with Phillip and the team at Statler Financial Services. So here's that number again, 863-877-1188. Call right now, 863-877-1188. If you're just now joining us here on the show, we've been talking about the newly lowered interest rates and how important it is to have a true retirement income plan. So Phillip, with rates dropping, timing your Social Security becomes even more important, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Danielle. The difference between claiming at 62 and waiting until 70 can mean huge additional dollars for every year you wait. If you look at 62 to 70, it could be as much as a 50% increase in your Social Security if you wait. So it's one of those things we want to make sure we do, we look at and make sure we time it properly. And that's one of the things we do when we do our income planning is we help clients figure out when and how to file so it fits their overall income strategy.
And as we're talking about this, another concern that retirees have and that we're hearing is market volatility. So how can retirees help protect themselves when the market gets bumpy all over again?
Bumpy, right? Diversification is the key to leveling out the bumps. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, meaning, you've got to consider using a blend of growth investments, stable income options, and keep some cash reserved so that you're not forced to sell when the market's heading south. So it's about really weatherproofing your retirement. So short-term swings don't disrupt your lifestyle. We want to make sure we have the plan in place that can deliver consistent income to you so you don't have to worry about what's happening in the marketplace.
There's a lot of information out there, Phillip, and for someone who's listening right now, how would you say, or what would you say would be the first step that they could take today to take action?
Get started. Don't try to do it alone. Let somebody help you. Working with a team of financial professionals can be a real game changer. You might want financial control in your retirement, but why would you want to become a financial advisor for yourself when there are teams out there that can do all the work with you and help you and partner with you and be your partner through retirement? Take that major first step and come meet with a team like mine. That's really what it's all about, Danielle. Think about it. If you saved at least $250,000 for retirement, and you don't have any kind of written income plan, which we know statistically 70% of the folks out there don't have one, this could just be your wake-up call. The Fed just cut rates and the economy is shifting. Without a solid plan, your savings could shrink faster than you think. But it doesn't have to be that way. With our income analysis, we can get you on the right path. It's a simple 30-minute phone call where we'll make sure that you are heading down the right path. And if you're not, hey, look, we're going to plug in and tell you some things that maybe need to be changed. And if you're way off course, hey, look, we're going to want to sit down and see if we can help you get back on track. It's that simple. It is that personal because you're different. Everybody has a different income need. Everybody has a different set of circumstances. And so we want to build that plan to you specifically. It's not one size fits all here at Statler Financial. We want to personalize it so that your plan fits just right for you. And not only do we look at income planning, But our core retirement design looks at other things too, like the risk in your portfolio. Have you made the switch? Because here's the deal. When we go from working to retirement, we need to make sure that our money goes from super growth mode to retirement mode. And it's different. It takes a special set of eyes to look to see and make sure that those things are being done in a retirement focused way. And then the other thing we look at in our core retirement design is taxes. We want our clients paying the least amount of taxes possible, not just this year, next year, but for their lifetime in retirement. Looking out for that time when one client passes away and now we end up in a higher tax bracket. We want to do the planning to make sure that we've done the best we can to pay the least amount of taxes possible. That's what our core retirement does, is it helps you design that plan. It's easy to get started. Just give us a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. Hey, I'd love to spend 30 minutes with you to make sure that you're doing the right things for the retirement you always dreamed of.
That's right. We want to remind you, no cost or obligation to speak with the team at Statler Financial Services. Here's that number again, 863-877-1188. You do not have to figure out retirement alone. So take this time and get a financial professional with you to walk you through what your retirement plan looks like. So 863-877-1188. Hey, Phillip, before we close out here, remind us of the details again of Shred Day.
Absolutely, Danielle. Shred Day coming up Saturday, October 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll have the shred truck across the street from First Baptist Church on the corner of East Center and Mango Street. Look forward to seeing you then. Put it on your calendar so you don't forget.
That's right. To get more information on that Shred Day event, here's that number, 863-877-1188. You don't want to miss out on this annual event. It's a special one. We have more on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.
Turn your plans of yesterday into yes today. Don't wait another day for a routine checkup of your retirement plans. Call Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly doesn't. With fears of a potential recession and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? Here in the Sebring area, financial advisor Phillip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services have seen uncertainty come and go. Phillip can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 863-877-1188 now to meet with Phillip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services. Call 863-877-1188 and schedule your visit today. 863-877-1188. Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Time to retire right. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Gone are the days when retirees could rely heavily on substantial external support, like Social Security and robust corporate pension plans. Today, not only are pensions a fading memory, but the reliability of Social Security and benefits is also increasingly uncertain, placing the burden of securing a financially stable retirement more firmly on individuals. So, Phillip, as a financial advisor, what do you feel are some of the greatest risks that threaten financial security during retirement?
Well, I think there's a handful that we see on a regular basis that are concerned to most everybody out there. Let's start with, we're living a lot longer, right? So we've got this increase in life expectancy that so many more people are reaching that, age 100. So that's a big deal. Making sure that we don't outlive our money And part of that is we're living so much longer that becomes a concern going into the planning process. And so I say that's one of the biggest ones is life expectancy and not making sure you don't outlive your money. The second one is market volatility. People are really concerned about the ups and downs of the market, the risk that's there. And that's why, we developed our core retirement design to help, offset some of those issues that people find when it comes to market volatility. And that can be a problem the closer you get to retirement. And then obviously we've had this issue, inflation, for the last couple of years. Inflation has really eaten away at people's savings, at the money they're getting. Expenses continue to rise. And not only inflation going up, but we know that at the end of 2025, going into 2026, that we are going to be seeing higher taxes unless Congress does something, which lately they haven't been able to do anything. So I don't think that that's going to change. I think we're going to automatically revert back to the old tax rules that we had prior to the Trump tax code changes. And so we know the taxes are going to go up. We need to plan for that, and we need to build a plan that helps offset some of those rising taxes. And lastly, rising healthcare costs. Healthcare costs have continually risen even higher than inflation. And so that's a big problem when it comes to retiring, because we know that as we retire, our healthcare costs are going to go up. I mean, it's just, the older we are, the more we need the doctors. And so we automatically will see some increases there, Danielle.
Phillip, you've definitely outlined several significant challenges that today's retirees face. You mentioned plenty: increased life expectancy, market volatility, inflation, rising taxes. I mean, the list goes on. So, Phillip, in your experience, what issue do you find most retirees struggling with the most, especially when it comes to planning for their financial security?
Well, let's look at a couple statistics here. On average, men who reach age 65 can expect to live statistically until age 84, while women can expect to live to age 87. Now that's a long time. And I know on my side of the family, I've got some really long genes. And my grandmother was 100. I have a grandfather who lived to 90. My dad right now is 87. So, my family seems to outlive these statistics. So it's really concerning to me that we continue to live longer. Well, if we live longer, that increases the impact of all the other risks that we have, like inflation, taxes, and market volatility, as well as healthcare, because those things are stacked, right? If inflation goes up one year, well, that affects the next year, because usually inflation is going to go up another year. We don't really see deflation bringing prices back down. Same thing for taxes. Taxes go up. Well, now we got to pay a bigger chunk. Well, that takes money out more than we expected. And so now that starts to deplete our money supply even quicker. And so those are some things that we really need to take a look at. And then the one thing I don't think people really think about enough is a surviving spouse. If somebody passes away, a husband passes away, now a surviving spouse can really be hit hard. They lose income and their tax rates go up typically because they're now single instead of married filing jointly. And so that's a big problem that we see with folks in retirement. And then children, they're having to care for aging parents, and that can be a problem within itself. Folks, all these things that we're talking about today, we look at and cover in our core retirement design, where we'll help you design the retirement you always dreamed of. It's simple. We look at market risk. We look at volatility. We look at income planning and make sure that you have an income plan that's going to last as long as you need it to. And then taxes. We want to make sure folks are paying the least amount of taxes possible. And that's all within our core retirement design. Give us a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188 to schedule your core retirement analysis. It's a 30-minute phone call. You and I will discuss where you are, what path you're on, what maybe you need to do differently. Maybe you're doing everything great. You just need some reassurance. Again, call us at 863-877-1188.
There's no cost or obligation to speak with Phillip and his team. It's simple. There's no cost. There's no obligation. We just encourage you to not plan for retirement alone. Again, call that number 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. Phillip, as we continue this conversation about our topic, making your retirement money last as long as you live, what steps can our listeners today take to help ensure that their retirement savings provides the income needed throughout their retirement years?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is we need to create a diversified income stream. We can't rely on one source of income. I mean, we know we're going to have Social Security. A lot of folks now don't have a pension, so they're going to have to create their own pension. And then they've got their investments. And so we need to make sure that we've got a diversified income stream, that we're not just counting on Social Security. We're not just counting on a pension, that we've got that three-legged stool taken care of. And then we need to make sure that we've got sufficient amount of reliable income just to meet our basic expenses. And so we need to make sure we've got that under wraps and ready to go. And then the last thing, we need to make sure we have a written retirement income plan. And we've talked about this a lot on our show. And that's part of our core retirement design. The third leg of that is making sure we have a written retirement income plan where you know where your income is going to come from year in and year out. And it's vitally important that we don't use overarching returns, right? We want to use something that's ultra conservative. Because if that works ultra conservative, we know if markets do better or our income's better, that we'll just be in a better spot down the road. But those are the three things that we really, really need to make sure that we have covered when we head into retirement.
Phillip, a lot of people have questions about this. So with financial security being a top priority, tailored especially to what seems to be indispensable. So can you do something like a personalized retirement income plan for us? So then that way people can kind of have an idea of the overall picture.
So when we put together an income plan, I use a bucket approach, right? We're going to put your money in several buckets, usually 4, sometimes 6 buckets of money, depending upon your current circumstances, because everybody is different. But we want to put those together and make sure that we know where that money is going to come from the first 5 to 7 years you're retired. Where are we getting that money? And then where do we go from there? And at the end, if I live to 100, do I still have some money left? We want to make sure that our growth bucket is keeping up with inflation. It's there to meet emergency things. And so we develop that into our whole system to know, hey, look, here's your retirement income plan. Here's what it looks like. Here's where your money's coming from. And here's what we anticipate that you should have each year. At the end of the time, hey, look, we get down to age 90. Here's how much money you should have left. And maybe at that age, you need more than what we anticipated because of inflation. Hey, now you've got it to work through. And so that's just an area that we have put together in our core retirement design, is that income plan, because it's just so important, Danielle.
And really quick, Phillip, many of our listeners are curious about the timing of retirement planning. So from your professional standpoint, when is the ideal time or age to begin preparing for retirement?
I'm going to say the ideal would be about 5 years before you get ready to retire. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't start a year before or right when you retire. It's the ideal would be 5. But if if you've already retired, I'm going to say it's not too late. We can still put together a plan based on your current circumstances and your current portfolios to put together that income plan so that you know where your money is going to come from, month in, month out, year over year. That's important. And again, that's why I developed my core retirement design, to help you design that retirement you always dreamed of. And it's a 30-minute phone call where you and I are going to talk candidly about where you are, where you should be, where you need to be, and how are you going to get there. It's 30 minutes. My gift to you. Give me a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188 to schedule your core retirement analysis, where we'll look at market volatility, how much risk do you have in your portfolio. We'll look at the taxes you're paying now, and are there ways and things that we can do to limit your taxes over your retirement lifetime. And lastly, that all-important written retirement income plan, all part of our core retirement design. Again, give us a call at 863-877-1188 to schedule your core retirement analysis.
We always like to remind our listeners that there's no cost or obligation to speak with Phillip and his team at Statler Financial Services. It's simple, like he mentioned. There's no cost, no obligation. All you have to simply do is call 863-877-1188. Again, that's 863-877-1188. Well, coming up next, we're going to dive into essential strategies to navigate the challenges of inflation, escalating healthcare costs, and taxes in retirement. That's right. We're going to dive into all of that coming up next right here on the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Needing a second opinion on your retirement plan, or to see if you're paying more than your fair share to Uncle Sam? Schedule your complimentary visit today. Text VISIT to 863-877-1188. That's VISIT to 863-877-1188.
Are you swimming in outdated financial documents? Do you have a shoebox full of random paperwork you no longer need? Time to round up all your old bank statements, tax forms, and the never-ending pile of receipts. Bring them to Statler Financial's annual Shred Day. Join us Saturday, October 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. across the street from First Baptist Church, located on the corner of the East Center Avenue and Mango Street. Plus, we'll have our friends there from the Heartland Food Bank, and they will be available to collect any food donations you may have. Please note, only paper products will be accepted, that and cardboard, not able to accept plastics or metals. For more information, call us here at Statler Financial Services, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. Statler Financial Services Annual Shred Day, Saturday, October 25th. See you there.
Surprise parties can be fun.
Surprise!
Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Phillip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Phillip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Phillip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit StatlerFinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
I want to help you understand some things. Number one, timing of your RMD, because they could potentially push you into a higher tax bracket. Imagine how fast your savings could shrink if you rack up penalties along with taking regular withdrawals and paying taxes.
Time to retire right. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Welcome back into the show right here, the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm your host, Danielle J. Martin, alongside Phillip Statler. He's the founder and president of Statler Financial Services. We're continuing the conversation about making your retirement money last as long as you. Because as we enter retirement and the subsequent stages of life, the financial landscape becomes increasingly complex, marked by, of course, rising inflation, stock market risk, risk, and shifting tax obligations. There's so much. So Phillip is here to walk us through. So Phillip, let's explore how retirees can actually best manage these financial pressures. Let's begin with the challenge of stock market volatility.
Well, and that can be a challenge, right? Because we don't ever know which direction the market's going to go. We can have a couple good days, we can have a couple good weeks, a couple good months, and then all of a sudden things drop off. And so I think it's important that people understand that when we look at things, yes, you need some market exposure. But the problem is how much do you need? And that becomes the million-dollar question. Is what do we need? Because we need to look at your age, how close you are to retirement or how far are you into retirement, and making sure that we use appropriate applications for the investing process. And then we want to make sure that we're looking at the rule of 100. Now, what's that mean? Well, the rule of 100 simply states that, let's say you're 65 years old. It says we should have 65% of our portfolio safe and secure. 35% should be at risk. Now, what does that mean, safe and secure? Well, the definition should be into something where you cannot lose money. Because if we lose money, now we've got to make more to bring it back. So it's a case of making sure that we're in that area where we have some of our money where we cannot lose it. And then we can take risk with some of our other money to help catch up and beat inflation over time. These are two areas that we need to make sure that we're focusing on as we build our retirement plan.
You know, Phillip, another significant concern for retirees is that future tax rates could escalate. You kind of mentioned this earlier in the show, and that really affects a lot of retirees who have based their planning on current tax rates. So, Phillip, how can retirees safeguard their finances against the possibility of rising taxes?
Danielle, rising taxes are a huge possibility. I would say if I was giving it a statistical chance, I'd put it up there about 95% chance that we're going to see increased taxes, if not 99% chance, right? Because of a lot of things. One of them is our growing national debt. It is astronomical how much debt we have taken on in the last 4 or 5 years. And so somebody's got to pay that debt. Somebody's got to service the interest. We got to make the interest payment. Even if we don't pay the debt down, we got to pay the interest rates. And interest rates have gone up substantially over the last 2 years, 3 years. And so how do we pay it? Well, we got to raise taxes in order to pay that. So then the other thing we look at is we've got expiring tax cut legislation. Again, that would be the Trump tax code cuts, we call them. And that is going to happen at the end of 2025. So December 31st of 2025, our existing tax code reverts back to what it was before, starting January 1st of 2026, which means we are all going to see a tax increase on January 1st of 2026, unless something changes, and I wouldn't hold my breath. So we've got that issue we got to deal with. We need to be able to diversify where we pull our income from. We need to tax diversify our portfolios because most folks, when they retire, the majority of their money is in their 401k, their IRAs, which is all going to be taxable when they pull it out. And that can be a problem because a lot of folks out there have saved and have done a great job. But now, all of a sudden, at 73, you got to start pulling money out whether you want to or not because Uncle Sam wants to collect that tax revenue. So we'll look at things like Roth conversions. How can we maximize your current tax bracket? And it may be minimal things that we're able to do, but every little thing that we can move from a taxable account to a tax-free account is going to save you down the road. And that is part of our core retirement design process to walk you through that and make sure that we take care of taxes and try to get them as low as possible.
There's also the pressure challenge of inflation, Phillip, right? We talked about taxes, but now we're moving on into inflation. So as the cost of living steadily climbs, retirees may find their budgets becoming increasingly tight, causing their savings to deplete more even quickly than anticipated. So I'm curious, how can retirees now adjust their financial plans when it comes to coping with inflation and maintaining their standard of living throughout retirement?
Yeah, that's right. Because a lot of folks that are retired now, well, let's face it, they put those plans together prior to 2021. And back then, man, we didn't have much inflation. I mean, if we had a 2% inflation rate, 2.5%, that was high. And so everybody built their plan based on no inflation, or very little inflation, I should say. And so now we have to revisit that. What do we need to tweak? What do we need to change to make sure that we don't run out of money as the folks need to withdraw more to keep up with this inflation that we're battling right now? And then on top of that, if inflation wasn't enough, inflation when it comes to healthcare costs is even higher than typical inflation. And so that's another issue. And here's one that I think not enough people really pay attention to, and that's making sure you optimize your Social Security. Mm-hmm. Again, too many people, I believe, take Social Security at 62 because they're afraid it's going to run out. It's convenient. They don't really need the money. They just want to take it. Folks, you need to make sure that you're running the analysis to get to the best possible situation you can when it comes to Social Security. Again, that's one of the things we look at in our core retirement design. Give us a call, 863-877-1188, to schedule your core retirement analysis, where we'll help you make sure that you're on the path to the retirement you always dreamed of. It's simple, as easy as a 30-minute phone call. That number to call is 863-877-1188.
That's right, Phillip. And let's also leave our listeners with, what guidance could you offer to individuals who are potentially worried about outliving their savings? As we're talking about this whole thing about, outliving your money, how can we also not outlive our savings?
Well, I think it comes down to this, Danielle, is that we have to have a plan. And that plan has to be written so that you can pick it up and look at it and make sure that you are on target, to make sure we're running the way we need to be running. And so that's a big part of our core retirement design, is making sure we have that written retirement income plan where people know where their income is going to come from. We also need to look at how much are they spending, because that's a big deal, right? If we're overspending, then that's going to really reduce our portfolio, which means we may come up short at the end. I've had to have some difficult conversations with folks that says, hey, look, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to run out of money. And that's difficult sometimes, but that's what we're here for. We're here to help coach people into and through retirement. Again, that's why I developed the core retirement design. That core retirement design looks at 3 key components of retirement. It looks at risk. How much risk are you taking? Because what I have found is about 60% of the folks out there have too much risk in their portfolio when they go into retirement. There's about another 10 to 20% that have not enough risk in their portfolio. And there's another 20% that they hit it right. Here's what I will say, though. Don't think you're the one that got it right until you run an analysis to make sure, because that could be a dangerous bombshell if you get it wrong. That's number one. Number 2 is taxes. We want to make sure that folks in retirement are paying the least amount of taxes over their lifetime and hopefully over their beneficiary's lifetime. And so we'll run several analyses to make sure that we put together a plan where they can start taking advantage of their current tax brackets. And lastly is going to be our written retirement income plan, making sure that the income you get meets what you need, and that we're still growing our portfolio so there's something left at the end, because we never know how long we're going to live. give me a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188 to schedule your core retirement analysis.
You do not want to miss this opportunity to speak with Phillip and his team. They will walk you through every step of your retirement plan. There's no cost. There's no obligation. It's simple. It's free. It's complimentary. Take this opportunity. Call Phillip and his team at 863-877-1188. You want to find out how you cannot outlive your savings, so simply give that number a call, 863-877-1188. We're just getting started here on the Statler Financial Radio Show. You want to stay with us. We have more coming up right after this. We'll be right back.
Do you have a retirement plan but would like a second opinion? Call Phillip Statler today, 863-285-3815. Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815.
Surprise parties can be fun.
Surprise!
Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Phillip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Phillip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Phillip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit StatlerFinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. We've made it back. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Welcome back into the show here. You're listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm your host, Danielle J. Martin, alongside Phillip Statler. He's the founder and president of Statler Financial Services. Now, we talk a lot about all the risks to your money in retirement, but research from Vanguard indicates that investors often underestimate the risk of cognitive decline. Now, it's a scary risk, and it could rob you of your best judgment, and sometimes it can go unnoticed for years. So with that thought in mind, we want to bring you to our top 5 list for this week, and that is the top 5 scams that you should be aware of. Phillip, I'm looking forward to this conversation today because in retirement, I think sometimes we tend to get a little too relaxed in thinking that we're not going to get targeted.
That's right, we do. And this is a good topic. I think this is good because, we've had our shred year. We do our shred event every year, and that helps us get rid of some of the stuff. But it can be hard to talk about some of these things that we're going to talk about today because no one likes to feel like they're foolish or they're naive or they got taken advantage of. So one thing that might make you feel better, though, is that when it comes to those phishing emails, it's actually millennials and Gen Zers who tend to get tricked the most. So it's your kids and grandkids that have fallen for this stuff too. So, they don't actually know everything, and you're not the only one that gets sucked into some of these scams.
That's right. And so when it comes to people making sure that they're not overlooking anything, how have you seen some of these scams or even elder abuse come in your many years helping people with their retirement?
There's been a lot that I've seen over the years. I've seen people click on the wrong thing when it comes to an email and their computer. I had a client that happened to them. They actually didn't click on the link. They got a phone call from somebody saying they were from Microsoft and that they realized there was an issue with her program and that they needed her to log in and go to a certain site. And before she realized what she had done, they had taken over her computer.
Oh my gosh.
And this was like, it was like 6, 7 o'clock at night. So remember, older people, well, even me, that time of year, that time of day, you kind of start to really get tired and you don't think straight. And so that's what happened to her. I've had friends that their parents have got sucked into that scam of gift cards, right? They'd go to Walmart or someplace and they would buy a gift card. So they've told them, hey, we need a $500 gift card for this. And it was actually one of those romance deals where they romance the person. So there are so many things out there when it comes to scams and older folks that we have to have our guards up. We have to be really persistent to doubt a lot of these things. I know we get sucked in because we're lonely. We want somebody to talk to.
Right.
And folks, that is what the scammers really and truly look for, is somebody like that, because they can get their fingers in there and not let go, because they've got you then.
That's right. And Phillip, I want to kind of go through and give our listeners the top 5 list this week that comes from the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Kind of a different source of information, but they recently issued an advisory warning against a few scams. You actually mentioned it, but just listing them off here: precious metal scams, romance scams, fee scams, and then the other 2 involve prescriptions and Social Security, and that is fake prescription and Social Security scams. These are the top 5. In your experience, Phillip, what's the biggest indicator that you might be dealing with a scammer?
Well, let's look at a couple of things. When we look at the precious metal scams, right, it really starts with that spam email or video forecasting the economic collapse or government seizures or claims to know some hidden secret out there that you don't know about. The message is basically that the only way to survive this pending doom and gloom is by owning precious metals, and seller pressures customers to use their retirement savings to buy coins. That's a big deal. Romance scams, like I said earlier, it happens when fraudsters pose as successful people seeking friendship or romantic relationships online. They may contact their target frequently by calling or texting, but avoid wanting to meet them in person or be seen on a video chat. Conversations eventually turn to money and markets, and that's when you start to feel that pressure. Hey, I need this, I need that. The fee scams, when fraudsters convince their target that they can earn unrealistically high profits in a short amount of time. However, the victim changes their mind and tries to withdraw their money, it's too late. They charge them enormous fees or alleged commissions, and there's nothing there. You talked about the other 2, the fake prescriptions and the Social Security. We look at those, and you think about the fake prescription one, those are harmful to your bank account and to your health. And so if you're buying prescriptions online, please do your homework. Look for the verified internet pharmacy practice site seal of approval from the U.S. Association of Board of Pharmacies, and talk to your doctor if you're unusually, if you're having any unusual side effects or your health conditions don't improve. I can't imagine, not only have you been taken advantage of, but your health suffers because of it. And the last was the Social Security scam. It involves trying to get you to give out your Social Security number. And they may threaten to suspend your benefits unless you provide additional information. Folks, if it's the Social Security Administration calling you, they have your number. They don't need you to give it to them. And so, folks, don't give your Social Security number out over the phone to somebody just calling you. That is a very dangerous thing to be doing. And it happens every day, Danielle.
Right. And Phillip, I'm glad we're kind of going over these so people can get very familiar of what to look out for. So if you feel like you might be dealing with a scammer, Phillip, what advice should you give our listeners? What should they do in that situation?
So I think that one is not so much how do you deal with them, but first you have to understand that you're being scammed, right? And so I think sometimes someone is forceful in trying to get you to hand over money. That should be a huge red flag. If somebody you don't know starts asking you for information that you normally wouldn't give somebody off the street, then and they're pushy about it, and that we need to take as something that is a scam. We need to be very protective of our information and not just be giving it out to anybody on the phone.
And Phillip, when we're going to add actually another scam to discuss today, this might come out as a surprise for everyone, but the family caregiver scam. This is a tough one, but when you have a relative or an acquaintance take advantage of someone vulnerable, how can working with a financial professional help provide some protection when it comes to this?
So, that's a tough one, because especially if it's a family member, and it's hard to deal with on both sides, not just you, the person that's being taken advantage of, but even on the other side, from the professional side. At what point does a professional step in and help, right? At what point can we? And because we see it sometimes where, now all of a sudden we have a family member that's there to help give care, or we have a caregiver we can see that's taking advantage of somebody. You need to call the authorities. They can help you investigate and get you the help you need in order to get out of that situation, because that is a very hard position to be in, Danielle.
That's right, Phillip. And as we're wrapping up our show today, whether we're dealing with fraudsters, market volatility, taxes, high healthcare costs, or inflation, let's remind our listeners, how can a simple plan, help make sure that our money will last?
Well, I think having a plan is a big deal. And so making sure that we don't lose what we have. And I think we kind of skipped over a little thing here that I want to bring to everybody's attention. And here's just some tips that you may want to take into consideration for helping you be more protective. Never make a payment or give sensitive information to anybody online that you've only met online. You've never seen them face to face. You've never sat down with them. Before making any investments, get a second opinion. Talk it over with a financial advisor, a trusted friend, or a family member. Don't trade in markets or products that you don't understand. And if somebody calls you out of the blue, hang up. These are big things, because what happens if those guys get a hold of you and your money, they can wipe you out. I've seen it happen, and it's an unfortunate situation, because when it happens, usually you can't get that money back. And so we want to make sure that we're doing the best we can with what we have to make sure our money lasts as long as we need it to. And again, Danielle, that's why I created the Core Retirement Design, to help people design that retirement they always dreamed of, to make sure that they're paying the least amount of taxes, that they have the income they're going to need day in and day out. Then give us a call at 863-877-1188 to schedule their Core Retirement Design. And that's a big deal. I want to make sure people understand that having these things in order help you fight against things like scams and fraudsters who try to take advantage of you. Again, give us a call at 863-877-1188 to schedule your Core Retirement Analysis.
You don't have to plan for retirement alone. Get some assistance, get some help. Call the number 863-877-1188. We are grateful that you are listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great one.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. This radio show is a paid placement.